resin.
Kit. So I was building some more of this, and I've started to put it together, and it can no longer fit in its own box. It's now too big to fit in the box, just as this, and there's still stuff to go on top of it. So that's a really nice thing to have happen. I have nowhere to store it at the moment, but anyway. So looking at this thing, it is absolutely huge, and size comparison, there is a Games Workshop Space Marine. It could fit in sort of an armhole at this point. It's absolutely huge, and it also comes with issues because it's so huge and it has very poor design in its feet. If you sit it down, you can see it likes to bend forward, and that means it's going to face plant, and face plant very, very hard. So I need to either completely reposition the feet, and I'm still not sure these ankles are tough enough to hold it, or I need to stick a rod sort of somewhere around here and have that coming backwards or straight down. Straight down would interfere with the feet, so I'm thinking I stick a rod there and have it sort of coming down here, maybe a skyscraper display base behind it, like in the movie the 02 goes berserk on ruins between two skyscrapers. Maybe have it kind of standing sort of skyscraper here with the rod coming down. That could possibly work, but I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that yet, since I've still got a lot of putty work to do around the legs and the head still. But there is just some stuff to talk about the kit. I had issues with the fit on the legs here. I'm not sure if that's because I carved too much resin away, or it just wasn't a very good fit. It's slotted in fine, but you can see there's lots of big gaps which need filling around here. I did a very minor fill on both sides just to sort of get it secure in there, and I actually pin the legs with brass rod. I've never done that before. I've done pinning before, but not with brass rod, so I got some brass rod about this thick. Sorry, I'm not sure of the actual measurements because I bought it from a local shop rather than ordering in sizes, since I'm really bad at getting sizes right. But I used brass tube and I put that in both legs. There's sort of an inch to 2 inches kind of brass rod holding these legs in place, and there's going to be a lot of sculpting needed, just filling the gaps around the place. It's not major sculpting, it's anything you'd do with any large model, so I'm not really concerned about it. I'll probably continue using Milliput for it. I do have epoxy, but I don't think it'll sand very well if I want to sand it, which might be an issue. So other areas which need attention is the knee pads. They had a connection point here for the casting, and it run the mold lines run straight down the back, which means there's no detail on them whatsoever, whereas this has the cracked sort of bony detail. I think I'll add that to the top. It's easy enough to just put a layer of putty over, then push a rock into it and sculpt a few cracks into it. It's not a difficult thing to do, but something that needs doing. Feet wise, I'm considering heating them up and bending them so they lay flat. Currently they lay at a weird angle. You have this one's heel on the floor, and this one and this toe, like the toe there and the heel there, and it's not enough support for this. This is way too heavy for just these small areas anyway, and half of them is just ridiculous. So that is a big flaw in the kit which needs fixing. What do we have here? I think one of these ports somewhere is miscast, but it's simple enough to just get a bit of tube and stick it where that is. Just cut out the offending part, stick in a tube. One thing I will give the kit a compliment is these holes here work perfectly as pinning holes. I've used them on the legs, they matched up absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but it works and I'm happy to use it. I did actually drill the holes to be slightly smaller in the arms, and then used a putty to fill in I super glued the pole in, then put some putty around it and then super glued the other side into it. It's got a putty as well as a glue seal. So that's pretty much it for the body and the legs, which, as I said, it's absolutely immense. Look at this thing. I have nowhere to store this currently. I literally don't have a place big enough to stick it, and it doesn't even have the pipes in yet. I can lay it down, but I'm going to have to build some more shelving to fit this thing in. So, let's put that to the back. Will it fit? Yes. Oh, steady. And we'll look at the head now. The head is all come together. The lower area, there is some mould lines on the teeth which need removing, which I think I have removed them all now, but I'm not 100% sure. Here there's a cheek which doesn't have any detail on it. Where is it? This one. This one just doesn't seem to have any detail compared to the rest of it around it. I'm not sure if it's miscast or just there's no detail there. But again, that's easy enough to just put some indentations in, a little bit of detail. It's very minor putty work that you should just pick up as you're generally sculpting things, just as things go. The actual head itself, this is the see-through part, which I don't know why it was see-through, there was no need for it. But I spray painted that in a blue so I could see if there's any mould lines I'd missed, since it's very hard to see on see-through things. And there wasn't. It was actually very well cast. The issues which did come of this is here, these horns, there was a support plate here which needs to be cut out, which means the back of them isn't quite smooth and perfect. There's still small issues there which I need to clean up, and again I need to put some putty on that, add a bit of texture to it. Other than that, here on the back plate it was a solid lump of resin with then a thin piece on the back which also went up to the top. Notice what that was. The top section you can see there was supposed to be left remaining, but it looked exactly like the bit that's on the back as the casting area. So I was having issues with that and thought, I cut that all off just to have a straight lump that I can sculpt in the helmet back to come back a bit here anyway, and that's fine. It's minor sculpting detail, it's not major, and it's something that's easy enough to do. But if you're building a kit, something to be aware of that the horizontal diagonal bit there was actually part of the kit. It's not to be removed, which was something that was an easy mistake to make. Here, putty to fill it in, more putty around here, filling in gaps. These teeth I'm kind of concerned will get broken. They are very fragile, but keep your fingers away from them, they should be fine. They're not going to be issues painting them well. Just a lot of them to paint, and they're like shark's teeth, they're just everywhere. There's no rhyme or rhythm to them. I will say I prefer the head this size. Like, to me that looks cooler than this does. Adding the extra front piece actually spoils the look of it. I liked that look better than this look, but I'm sure when this is all painted up nicely that'll look fine. One thing I did do is I gave it all a black wash, as you can see, to pick out any mould line issues. Because again, I can't see mould lines on white, it's just very difficult to see. So I threw a wash over it, and I didn't actually find any, so I'd actually cleaned it up nicely, but it's always worth checking. And to finish the mouth off, you need to insert the tongue. Which goes like that and gives you the full head, which looks really cool to me. The issue I have here is if I put this in now and then put it in, I'm going to have difficulty painting some of these teeth and getting under the tongue. If I leave it out, there's going to be a seam there. You're going to be able to see where the tongue glued in. I think it may be possible to get away with it because it is a tongue going into a mouth, but I'm not sure. Mouth-wise, there's no actual throat to it. Sounds strange, but there's no. This is all flesh texture all the way here. This is the only area which is even remotely could be the throat, and that's textured as well. So I'm not quite sure how to make it look like a mouth, which actually disappears down into something and not just a massive lump of flesh. Although I don't know if Eva's eats, so maybe they don't even have a throat. Maybe I need to watch End of Eva again and see what happens to 02 and I'm not sure on that one. But yeah. Let's move on to the arms. Now the arms are huge again. And my plan for these was I was going to glue them, leave them off and then glue them on when it's finished, when everything's painted, because I think that's the best way to do this. And I did have some issues with these because the fingers are extremely fragile. I actually had to repair 2 fingers on one hand. I think it's this one, you can see 2 breaks there. And I had to repair 4 fingers on the other. They just got shattered in the box. They were not damaged themselves. They were just wow, the camera does not like this white. Thanks, camera. Anyway, this is try and get there. I guess that's the best we're getting. So the fingers all snapped. Super glue them back on. I'll use some putty to fill in the gaps and fix them up. It was annoying to do the 4-finger one because that's 4 fingers and they're all, none of them are very humanoid, so to speak. They all bend at weird angles and come back. Like this one, it's one of the broken ones. Its nail curves outwards like that, as opposed to inwards. And they all do that, but it's very confusing when you're trying to fit a nail on something and it feels like you're doing it backwards. So these have stuff to clean up. It's standard stuff at the casting area here. There's a casting area there which need fixing, and just a mould line which just runs all the way down them. And that's just standard modeling stuff, no issue. On this one, again, casting area. I did actually have this peg break off. I don't know why. That peg actually broke. And I'm not going to say that's delivery because that makes no sense. I think I just put stuff in the box, closed the lid, and the fingers unfortunately got caught up in a lot of weight because the box fits it, but you have to make it go in right, and I probably didn't. Here, again, 4 fingers broke, so they need gluing back on. Now need cleaning up, bit of putty work. I did actually notice this had a ring on its finger. I don't know why. Does this one? No, for some reason this hand has a ring on its finger, which is very strange. See it there. So this is just standard cleanup. No real issue here. Again, peg holes there. And one thing I didn't like, let's see which side, this side will do. One thing I didn't like on this is, just grab the fingers. They are sharp. I should warn you, resin can cut you. It's not nice stuff. That's here. You can see. One thing I had issues with the weight on these legs, and I thought, oh, I'll have its arm forward grabbing onto something. But the way the kit is designed, that would require major sculpting work, so I don't think that's possible. Its arms both go back like this. So its arms both go back. And that means I can't have it holding on to something. If I put something on the back to support it, it's going to have to be like dragging it behind. It's going to be like a bar coming out of its hand into something, like sort of thinking when an angel's being ripped apart, its sort of entrails dragging behind it. But I'm not sure actually what the beast mode did in the movie. I would need to check that again. But I'm not sure I could actually make that work with the colour scheme, and I'd have to sculpt sort of a row of intestines or a spine or something. And I'm not sure I've got the skill to do that at this scale. This is an immense sculpting project when you're starting to add the extra detail to it, as opposed to just adding a little more texture here and there. So painting wise, this is going to be difficult on the arms and the body, because you want to seal this up. You want everything glued into place as much as possible, but then you're going to struggle to actually paint each individual part of it. So here, I think the arm, because of the armour, I think you can get away with the arms not being attached and then gluing them on when it's all finished and painted. Okay, let's put it back in the box carefully. Right, final pieces. Power injectors, or coils, whatever you want to call them. And these plug into the back, like so. Just insert them. And they're all exactly the same piece, which is nice. You're not having to figure out which one goes where. And see if it's in the top, down to the bottom. And these, they're nice to clean up, which sounds strange because they're a cylinder. and I'll explain when I put this down carefully. Right. Whoa, 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 whoa. So, I don't know if the camera will pick this up very well. You can kind of see it. I think I may need to switch to a different camera when I start getting this fully together because it's so huge. This webcam setup just isn't working very well. There we go. You can see there is a texture across it. It's very difficult. Come on, camera. No, coming close isn't helping any. It just doesn't like white today. But there is a lattice look to it. You can kind of see there. There we go. There is a lattice look to it, where it all crosses over itself. Sort of it's a weave of that goes over, that goes under, over, under, over, under, and that goes around the entire cylinder. And it's not difficult to clean up because you just have a straight line down. You go scrape that way, scrape this way, scrape that way, scrape this way. Then you get to the top and just sort of give it a run around with a knife and you're done. The bottom clipped off nicely. There is a lot of room for the pegs to actually sink in, so you're not too worried about getting it perfectly smooth on the bottom. See here, there's vastly different sizes in what's being cut off, and they're both working perfectly fine in any of the holes they can go in. So they're nice. I've had one of them has been miscast where one side's not quite got the texture it needs, but because it's just a lattice, it's putty, and then just smooth it out and sand it down and you're good. So I'm not no issues there. We're pretty good. Just one miscast so far. There are 20 of them, which is a lot to do, but got to do them. So let's put this back in the box and we'll come back to the main body. With those inserts, well, I'm not sure if I want to glue them in before I start painting or not. The issue is the insert areas, these ones. Actually, let's grab another one a second. Where did it go? There you go, that one will do. Right, so the insert section there, see, it kind of fits in. So yeah, that works on camera. Okay, so that fits in there, and there it sort of sits on top. Here it sinks more into the flesh, and again there it sinks more into the flesh, and at the top it's sitting into the flesh again. And my issue here is I'm not sure how I want to handle this, because sometimes they fit really nicely and just sink straight in, as you can see in most of these, but on sort of this one there's a bit of wiggle room there where it's not quite sitting flat, and that may just be this. I think that's just because that one's a bit shallower, but some of them they fit slightly better than others. And my concern here was, do I want to put them in now and then add a bit of putty around to secure them in so it looks like they're actually part of the flesh, or do I want to leave them as inserts, like they just sit into the holes as if the flesh is grown around the port, or the port is its own separate thing inserted into the flesh, rather than it all being the same thing. Because on the actual Eva itself, as opposed to this stylized version, these ports are artificial. You can see them sticking out of the flesh where these are ejected from. It looks like these are inserted into the flesh, these like power cells, and that's good. But on this it's hard to tell what's flesh and what's armor, because the armor's organic looking. It's sort of a bony plate with sort of a fleshiness to it, and that can cause some issues. But I haven't figured out which way I'm going to go with those yet. As I just do the test fitting here and plug in stuff in, I'm thinking maybe just paint them up and then insert them there. And that brings us nicely to the discussion of painting. These are going to be silver and then probably a teal wash over them, or maybe badger miniature ghost tints to just give it a sort of green glow. They're going to be simple to do. The issue comes with the main body itself. If you look at the Eva concept art and line art they do of some of some scenes, the Eva's main body is a very dark brown, sort of maroon colour, and that's what the actual flesh is itself, and that's okay. We could work with that, sort of a dark maroon flesh. and then bright red armor would look pretty good. The issue is the head. The head itself on Eva's are a different colour to the body. Well, the body's maroon, and you can see on the Beast not concept art, promotional art, the line art, you can see the entire spine area is a very dark maroon, whereas the head's black, and this applies to all Evas that I've seen other than the Eva series from the end of Evangelion. And the issue comes from that is having a black head and a brown body is going to look really weird on something like this. It's clearly not sort of a Frankenstein monster jammed together, so I can't just slap that on and say okay, that's done. So I'm thinking the head's going to have to be adjusted colour wise. Now, I'm not keen on doing the entire thing maroon and red because I think it would maybe be a bit excessive. I'm thinking more of a sort of a purpley flesh colour would probably work well. But then I've also not decided on the actual armour itself, because while I'm building this, while I'm looking at all these ridges and the bone plates, my head is screaming paint this bone, paint this bone. It would look amazing as sort of a flesh and bone looking construct. And I can't argue that is the way I would paint if it wasn't something I was basing it on. It's very clearly that's the way it wants to go. Look, sort of these bone plates here just scream to be white, and they sort of have black armor here maybe. I find it very difficult to argue with that. And there is the very first design concepts for the original Eva, Shinji's one, is a silvery white colour, and that looks amazing in the art books. So kind of there is precedent for going that way with it, but I'm not sure. I'm just not sure if that's the direction I want to take this yet. The other options are painting it red, because that's the colour it's supposed to be, but even then you have multiple options, because the second unit in the movie has white detailing along here. I think this plate's white and its shoulder colours are different, so there is potential there where you, instead of going for the rebuild colour scheme, you go for the TV colour scheme, which lacks some of the white detail. I think it has more yellow detail on it if I recall, but don't hold me to that at this moment in time. So there is options there to go for TV or movie, and I haven't decided on that yet. But even just what red to go for, because I'm inclined to paint it a light red, but I'm thinking maybe do it a lighter red and then wash it back down. Use some deep washes, because all of this crack detail is going to get a wash no matter what. There's no way you can just leave it as it is. It's way too much stuff going on here, and a nice wash in these recesses will really make it pop. So I'm probably going to go with that. And if it turns out red, I'll go for that. But at the moment, I'm still not sure which direction to take it, because I really like the original TV series colour scheme. I think like a really deep, rich, yellowy orange would go really well on some of these parts, and I can see that kind of working. And I don't think there's any major detail changes, except that the TV series never uses the beast mode, but well, at this point you're so stylized, does it really matter? So I guess the only thing left to discuss painting wise is the eye lenses, and they can be difficult to deal with. And I could have replaced them with some parts from Wave. They do actually little lenses for Gunpla, which would have fit nicely. But I think the direction I will go is instead I'll paint the entire lens area silver, and then use ghost tints to tint them green, which give a really nice dual effect to them. I think that'll work here. I haven't decided quite what I'm doing with the mouth yet. I did the Godzilla kit a while ago, and that was kind of a practice for painting mouths. And I like the direction that went. I just have to remember the colour scheme. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I think it would apply well to this. So that's what we're looking at right now. and I think this is making pretty good progress. It's not fast progress because unfortunately it's resin and I live in the UK, and the weather's either absolutely scorching right now or it's just raining and raining and raining. So I can either sit in the sun and have a nice pleasant day of melting with a mask on to filter out the resin dust, or I can't work because it's raining. So that's pretty much all you can do at the moment, is take your time with it and work on other projects until this one comes to fruition. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and part 3 will be up in the near future, where hopefully everything will be together and it'll either be primed or be ready to be primed. So thanks for watching.